while you are on student visa, you are just focused on getting a job. And then once you get into job, you come across, okay, I need to get on H-1B and then the line of green card, either through EB2 or EB3 strategy. Now, besides that, no one talks about or no one knows about what other options are open. There are options like EB1 or EB2, NIW, or even EB5. So personally, I even looked into EB1 to qualify for that kind of profile by, I would say, qualifying 5 of those 10 pointers, right? Being a judge in one of the competitions or publishing a research paper and whatnot. But it's very subjective to the government or the USCIS discretion to approve or not approve that green card process. And through EB2, as Ayushi mentioned, the waiting period is for almost more than a decade and a half or so. And with the ever-changing policies, it might come to 5 years, it might go to 50 years. So we didn't want to be in a position where we are not able to either move out of the country or see our family. A lot of our peers or friends face similar situations in COVID timeline where they couldn't even see their parents in the critical conditions because of the lack of PR or just them being on H-1B visas. So that was one of our pain points. Your employment and advance parole. So it can go from anywhere between 60 days to 20 days. We were fortunate enough to get it in 2.5, and the advance parole came in around 60, I would say 90 days, 3 months of waiting period.
Got it. And so now that you have those in hand and you've got complete employment and travel flexibility, how do you plan to, what, I guess first question, how does it feel to have that burden lifted from your shoulders? And then two, what plans or things are you kind of making for later in 2024 that, that's kind of addressed?
Yeah, I can start. I think it definitely lifts a lot of weight off your shoulders because you're not limited to one employer. There is a sense of freedom that also kicks in because now it feels like the world is your oyster because you have so many opportunities open. So it's definitely very, very, very exciting. Having filed EB5 while being in the US definitely has its advantages because with the EAD and the AP, there is no limitations per se. The only thing you're waiting for is your conditional green card, pretty much.
Right.
And now we have the freedom to choose from different opportunities for our lives as well, in terms of exploring different opportunities, exploring different investments, or even academic opportunities that we might want to pursue without having to worry about what we would do with our H1s or have to go back on a student visa or extreme step for that matter. I can start. So we went and spoke to more than 6 or 7 regional centers in total. The biggest difference we saw was, number one, was transparency. With EB5AN, all the documentation was black and white. Every number or every metric that we needed was provided. I think the response rate is very high and very quick. Like the turnaround times are very low, so we can get our questions answered very quickly. The second thing was that EB5AN has adopted more of an educational approach. The EB5 process in general is not very widely known, at least in the community that we come from. And so going through that educational process, maybe even taking some of the pointers that we learned through EB5AN and going and asking different regional centers was very helpful for us to gather our information and do our due diligence in the process as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we have been very grateful that we came across EB5AN through our own research. So the standard, the benchmark that you guys have put it in the industry is definitely incredible, I would say, applause worthy, because that gives us a lot of confidence dealing with people, number one. And second thing is, if you have that trust, then you are not worrying about what's going to happen with your money either. Now, EB5AN, the founders, Sam and Mike, they have a great educational background, number one. They have a great professional experience. That counts a lot. And third thing is the metrics or the important information key pieces that EB5AN focuses on was not seen in other regional centers. That was one of the key differentiator among like EB5AN and other regional centers. So I can go and go and keep going with all the great things that you guys have been doing and you're planning to do. But I guess EB5AN, the 6 or 8 months of conversation or the exposure that we got was more than enough for us to take a pause and just go ahead with EB5AN. And I guess that's one of the major key. Understanding what EB5 program is all about, that's where you will get the answer. The 10,000 visas that's been allotted for EB5 on a yearly basis, 20% of those are reserved for rural category. In order for us to reduce the risk and increase our chances for permanent residency, we wanted to make sure that we can tap into that 20%. And that's why the major reason behind choosing a rural program was getting that reserved category benefit.
Oh yeah, yep. And also investors in rural projects also get the faster priority processing too. So not only are you getting more available visas that help you kind of lower that risk of a future backlog, but you also get priority processing, which means you're getting access to that visa sooner, which means you're getting the green card in your hand faster. And we've seen that over the last few years since the RIA, we've really seen that come to fruition. It was unclear several years ago what priority processing really meant. And now it's been several years and we're seeing approvals in our rural projects in 12 to 18 months, some less than 12 months even. So it really is a lot faster than it has been historically.
So I can give a couple. One was definitely because we're part of the loan fund, that the loan repayment guarantee was great. That was definitely a pivotal point in our decision as well.
Right. And even for the loan repayment guarantee, the financials were very crystal clear. The transparency was maintained by both regional center as well as Coulter as a development group, because we had a lot of questions about repayment guarantee and they were satisfied not just with the emails but with the attachments of financials as well as you mentioned about the balance sheets and whatnot. So that gave us a lot of confidence. So that's one, definitely the repayment guarantee.
And also the progress of the project that we saw over that period of 6 to 10 months showed us that the project was coming to fruition pretty quickly. It was as we saw people living there, using the amenities, etc. So that was definitely a big part of our decision.
Second, adding to that, like it's not just houses being built, houses being sold. So that newsletter with the updates that, you know what, this month we sold more 13, 14, 15 houses. So that gave us more confidence that, you know, it's not just being built, but it's also being disposed of, which helps to build good financials.
And then the third point was that the jobs were already created by the time we invested, which gave us the confidence in the project itself, knowing, or well, at least minimizing the risk with the immigration process per se.
Makes sense, yeah. Those were three main factors, I would say, that help us to have peace going ahead.